Hey everyone, what's going on? It's If You Have to Pick Three. It's Matt.
And it's Zach.
If you haven't joined us for one of these before, Zach gets a top three list. I get a top three list. We fight it out for a final top three list. And if you've listened to us before and you want to help support the podcast, make sure you hit up our link tree, linktr.ee/Epic Footnote. You could buy t-shirts, you could buy coffee mugs, stickers, anything you do goes to help out the podcast. Thank you in advance. And you clicked on the picture for the show. This time, we've never done, and I'm surprised we haven't done this before. I could have swore when you mentioned this to me that we did do this, but we're doing diss songs this time because,
we're just so positive.
Until we're negative, then we're positive.
If you've heard our episode about Bamboozled, you know that's a lie. Anyway,
yes.
Yeah.
Hashtag salty boys.
Yeah. Don't tell them our original podcast name. Anyway, to Matt's point, it is kind of surprising we haven't talked about diss songs, but what kind of inspired it is that, right now, as we're recording this, one of the biggest pop songs out there is Miley Cyrus's Flowers. And not only is it pretty much a big slap in the face to her famous ex-husband, it's kind of a fun slap in the face because it takes a Bruno Mars song and playful play on his lyrics. And it's just a good song. And it's just kind of a good reminder of, how whatever genre it is, everyone loves a good, juicy gossip song in a way. And we thought, of course, when you think of diss tracks, you think of hip hop, but we decided let's determine the best diss songs, diss tracks of all genres. So as Matt mentioned, we both get our three top choices. But before we get to Matt, would you like to go first and share your three?
Sure.
See, I'm already being nice here. This is me being the gentleman here, letting you go first.
Well, for the first time.
Yes, I know, but there's always a first time. Salty.
So the first
tell us about the first time you
well, it feels like the first time, the very first time. Completely not part of this episode.
And now I just want to sing Foreigner. You tell us, fans. Do you want us to sing? Do you want us to hear us talk about this song or to sing Foreigner? Let us know on Facebook, Twitter.
So the first song that I put on here is actually a tie. I kind of did mine in reverse order. I did what's not so bad, but it's clearly a diss song, and it's more timeless than some of these other things because when you think of the diss songs, it's not just hip hop, and it's a lot older than you would expect. And there's some of these songs that just hang around and hang around and hang around. The more that you hear it, people are like, I wonder what that song is about. And then you go on to find out what it's really about. And so I kind of tied these two. So number one is shared by Carly Simon's You're So Vain and Alanis Morissette's You Ought to Know. Why? Why are you laughing?
I'm laughing because I actually was considering doing a similar tie as well.
Okay.
And I want to know why. I want to hear your reasoning for the tie.
So you recognize, fool.
Well, you ought to know.
I do.
Oh, you're so vain.
So the reason why is they're both kind of in the same vein, almost like Miley Cyrus's Flowers. Total pun intended. So they are very similar because Alanis Morissette was talking about Full House's Dave Coulier, who played
allegedly,
quote unquote. But
it's not so slander his name.
Oh, I will. But it's kind of weird to think about the way that she talks about him, quote unquote, in this song, because you don't associate him with serious things, like, because he was always such a funny character. He can't be like that, really. But according to her, no, he's a pretty bad guy. So allegedly, quote unquote,
because and I joke about allegedly, but she has never fully said or confirmed it was about him, right?
Well, 99% sure that it was about him.
And the reason why I laugh and about it, you connecting it, not to steal too much of your thunder, but another connection between these two songs, other than the similar theme, is that it's almost been one of like rock's greatest mysteries as to, like, for years both artists remained silent as to who the song was actually about, to the point that, like, Carly Simon got someone to pay $50,000 for a charity auction just for the chance for her to tell them in secret who the song was about. And then, the sort of secrecy. And it wasn't until, I think it was 2015. Yeah, 2015 when Carly Simon even finally confirmed that some of the song is about Warren Beatty, which is also a long run. Some of it. So there's still mysterious. I mean, it's been either Mick Jagger or it's been Warren Beatty. Like it's been so.
Yeah, James
that's where,
Taylor,
like,
David Bowie.
Like similar kind of like, no one like everyone wants to know and has theories, but they don't know for sure.
So yeah, there you go. That's really why those two are tied. Because they honestly are at this point. I think I can safely say that Alanis Morissette's "You Ought to Know" is timeless because it's been out since the mid '90s, and God, it was that long ago. Oh God, that feels so dirty. But yeah, Carly Simon and Alanis Morissette tied for "You Ought to Know" and "You're So Vain." The second one that I put on here is a little more recent, and it was the death of somebody's career.
That always makes it a good diss when it actually kills someone's career.
Yeah, because Eminem killed Machine Gun Kelly and killed him so bad that he couldn't be taken seriously in the rap world anymore, that he had to now become a, quote, pop punk star.
Actually, if you want to blame anyone for his annoying pop rock career, you can blame Eminem.
And so, but you know what? The fact that Machine Gun Kelly came up and his name is a reference to how he used to, quote unquote, spit verses like a machine gun. He's not even doing that anymore. So your name means absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And in what world do you think that you're good enough to go up against Eminem, who is arguably one of the best rappers that has ever lived, with the biggest vocabulary of any hip hop artist? I remember I actually saw an internet graphic that somebody did years ago where they put up every single word that somebody used in a hip hop song, and Eminem's vocabulary was like leaps and bounds beyond everybody else. But just somebody who takes his craft so seriously, even though it doesn't come across it that way. If you listen to him talk about music, he's got a deep, profound understanding of music. So for you to come at him and talk about, I think it was his daughter Haley that he started to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. Like Eminem went off the rails, and that was the end of Machine Gun Kelly's hip hop career.
You could even argue that Machine Gun Kelly at that point, because, let's be real, he was never taken that seriously. And he's even lucky that Eminem even recognized his existence with a track.
Correct. I think the only reason why he did that was because he talked about Haley.
Maybe. Or maybe he's like, you know what, let me just put this puppy out of his misery and just destroy them.
And he did.
Yeah.
So that is number 2. And number 3 is actually a diss track that actually led to real death. So this is Tupac and Hit 'Em Up. So the story, everybody knows the East Coast, West Coast war in the mid to late 90s. And there was pictures of like Tupac with Faith Evans, and Faith Evans dated Biggie Smalls and, married. That's right. Well, yeah, they had a date to get married. Tupac very clearly had a huge hatred toward Bad Boy Records, Biggie and P. Diddy. He blamed both of them for his shooting and letting.
Depending on who you ask, it was a fluke that Biggie and P. Diddy or then Puff Daddy were in the studio, in the same studio as Tupac. But Tupac found that weird because, like, well, we're friends. Why wouldn't I have known that you were there? And there's a famous photograph of Tupac laid out on the stretcher, like giving a middle finger. And it's believed that he was giving a middle finger to Biggie and P. Diddy in the doorway, looking at seeing who they thought was their friend. I mean, listen, who knows what actually happened,
right.
But he always thought that they were responsible.
Right. So from the get-go, I mean, this whole diss track was 100% East Coast, West Coast, that ended up, with 2 people getting shot and killed.
Yeah.
So there you have it. I mean, that's really all you can say. Like, if that's, I don't
mean to laugh, but it's just like kind of like it. That shows how powerful music can be.
Yeah, I mean, 2 people are dead off of a a track where you're making fun of each other. I mean, that's what it is in the end, right?
I mean, not even. I mean, you could make the argument that this was because I think it was because honestly, I jotted down notes because I was considering that song too. Many people called it like one of the most brutal, violent songs in hip hop out of the '90s. Like it was just like he went for the jugular against Biggie, and the producer who worked with him on that song was noting how he had never seen Tupac in that kind of mindset in the studio before. Like he was literally out for blood. And
Well, he got it.
And they got it. All of them got it.
So
as horrible as that is to say out loud, but
and I never thought I would be saying this, but Tupac, Eminem, and Carly Simon and Alanis Morissette are on the same list.
Kind of sounds like a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nomination.
So just
actually, no, wait. That's not the first time we've said Eminem and Carly Simon in the same sentence.
That's true. That's
because
true.
they both got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame the same. That's really funny. All right. I guess that means my turn.
Let me just recap real quick. So
recap, damn it.
Number 1 was tied, You Ought to Know, and You're So Vain, Alanis Morissette and Carly Simon. Number 2 was Eminem's Kill Shot, and number 3 was Tupac with Hit 'Em Up.
All right. So here's my 3 then. Let's first start off with a classic rock diss. You know, Sweet Home Alabama is such a classic rock song and probably is played in way too many country bands now too, that you kind of forget that that was actually written as a diss to Neil Young. Because remember, Lynyrd Skynyrd are proud boys from the South, and they felt really insulted by Neil Young's song Southern Man and Alabama, which, if you haven't heard those songs, are just very clearly talking about the flaws of the Southern man, aka calling them all racist idiots. And that inspired Lynyrd Skynyrd, who respected Neil Young as an artist otherwise, to write basically the anthem of Alabama. And it led to one of the lines, one of the most iconic diss lines. I hope Neil Young will remember. A Southern man don't need him around anyhow. That line might be as iconic as the chorus itself. And to show you how, I mean, not only did they both have respect for each other's artists, but to give you an idea of how much Neil Young even liked that song, he's gone on record to say, yeah, it's a great song. They've both worn shirts of each other. The singer Stevie Van Zandt, before he passed away, wore Neil Young shirts. Crazy Horse would wear the Lynyrd Skynyrd shirts. Like, they ended it with respect for each other. And even Neil Young, who, you know, would go on to even cover the song sometimes, he's gone on to say, yeah, he loved the band. And he actually even, you know, agreed with Lynyrd Skynyrd's criticism of the song Alabama. Not so much Southern Man, which, by the way, Southern Man is a phenomenal song. But he actually even agreed that my lyrics on Alabama were just condescending and just like accusationary. It's just not clever. It was just crude for the sake of being crude, essentially. So first pick, Lynyrd Skynyrd's Sweet Home Alabama. The second, going into the hip hop realm, here's an example of a beef/feud that actually ended up benefiting both artists involved, because it ended up not only kind of getting both artists a lot of attention, but really bringing the best out of each other. I'm choosing my second pick, Nas's Ether. And you got to remember, at the time, Nas was not in a great place. Nostradamus was let down among fans and critics, and a lot of new talent were gunning after him and trying to take his throne. And Jay-Z came in and came out with Takeover, and it seemed like he just destroyed Nas. And then Nas comes with Ether, and granted, there's a lot of pretty damn homophobic craps in the song itself. A lot of lines that attacked Jay-Z, like that were just brought him back to his primes. Lyrics like, in 88, you was getting chased to your building, calling my crib, and I ain't even give you my numbers. All I did was give you a style for you to run with. Boom, reclaiming what made him so credible in his beginning. And as a result, it just kind of made both Jay-Z and Nas even better at that point. It kind of helped elevate both of them at the time. So I'm going with Nas's Ether. So for my third pick, I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of torn. I was almost going to go with a tie, but I think I know which one I'm going to go, and I'm going to explain a little bit more, because it's actually, these two songs are sort of targeting, not sort of, they are targeting the same person. I'm talking about two West Coast anthems, West Coast hip hop classics. The first one leaning towards was Ice Cube's No Vaseline. And mind you, when he left NWA, He initially didn't want to, make any big deal out of it. But Eazy-E and, the band, they kept throwing disses at him. And he was like, you know what? That's it. Gloves are off. And he just went straight into murder mode against Eazy-E and the group's manager, Jerry Heller. Gloves off, calling them out for the pieces of crap that they were in his mind and how, they just diminished the group. There's a line in there that says, hey, Dr. Dre, stick to producing. So he really just went all out against everyone. And then one that I was kind of leaning towards also, and I think I'm going to go with this one just because the song straight up destroyed a person's credibility, but the video basically was the icing on the top. Talk about Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg's Dre Day, or F with Dre Day, and everybody's celebrating. And granted, that song in particular threw some disses at a few people like Tim Dog and Luke Campbell, but its main target was clearly Eazy-E, his former NWA member. And it just does everything that it can to just diminish any credibility that Eazy-E had at the time. And if, the lyrics all alone weren't enough, then comes out a music video, was basically a straight up parody sketch. It had Sleazy-E, as they called it, with overseeing Useless Records, which was a play on Ruthless Records, the label he and Jerry Heller were overseeing. And it was just basically made him look like a complete doofus. And what was different about that video at the time, though, was that it was slightly better production than most hip hop videos. It got even more airplay on MTV and BET. Eazy kind of came back with a diss track after it, but he never really recovered, especially considering that The Chronic was such a huge album at the time, too. So I think I'm going to lean with Dre Day by Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg. So to recap for my three, Nas's Ether, Lynyrd Skynyrd's Sweet Home Alabama, and Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg with Dre Day.
Ain't nothing but a G thing, baby. Sorry, wrong song.
Yeah. Still, good song. All right. Matt, would you like a famous Zach compromise?
Go for it.
Tupac, Hit 'Em Up.
Yep.
Lynyrd Skynyrd, Sweet Home Alabama.
And
Carly Simon, You're So Vain.
You probably think this podcast is about you. You're so vain.
I am. Thoughts?
Yeah.
Any arguments you would make against one over the other?
No, I don't think so. I agree.
Hit 'Em Up 100%. Even if you take out the unfortunate events that happened after that song came out, it was still it went straight for the jugular when it came to by gangster rap standards. And the music video for that also, the way it was like, no, if you had any questions as to who I'm calling out in my lyrics, here's a guy that looks like I'm saying is Biggie, and here's Little Kim grinding on him. I'm making it very clear who I'm targeting here. It was just brutal.
It's kind of weird too to me that they do music videos for some of these diss tracks. You think they would just go in the studio, bang it out, and put it out, and that's about it. But to shoot a music video, that takes some time and planning and energy. More so than recording a song.
When you're that angry and you want to really destroy someone, and you have the platform because at the time MTV will play your video, why not?
I don't know. To me, it just feels weird. But yeah, I agree with that. We'll go with that.
So there you go. We agree. No dissing on this one. If we had to pick three of the best diss tracks, it would be Tupac's Hit 'Em Up, Lynyrd Skynyrd's Sweet Home Alabama, and Carly Simon's You're So Vain. Are we being vain, though? Are we being fools? Are we missing something? Is there another song that you would think is better? Or do you agree? Let us know on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok now, at Epic Footnote. Let us know what you think. Thanks so much for listening, and thank you to Lucky 13 Beard Code.
Log on to Lucky13, beardcode.com. We're going to give you the code EFP10 to use in your cart. Any beard balm or oil, in fact, anything that the guys have on the site over there at Lucky 13, put in your cart. You'll get 10% off. Make sure that you check out the Lemmy, our exclusive beard oil with Lucky 13. You're going to smell and feel epic. Bourbon, tobacco, cola, and leather. Everything that Lemmy from Motorhead was all about in one bottle. It is going to, like I said, leave you feeling and smelling epic, in addition to anything else that the guys have there at Lucky 13. Once again, use the code EFP10 at checkout, 10% off of your order. Lucky13, beardco.com.
And once again, go to our link tree, linktr.ee/epic footnote. Check out some merch that we have, t-shirts, coffee mugs, hoodies, stickers. Support us so we can do more podcasts like this. And we hope you join us for another episode real soon.
See ya.